would like to complete your ensemble?
Oh, no. There's something else of yours that I want.
Oh, really? What's that?
Your ass!
I'll take care of this one.
Hello, Hot Pants. I don't suppose you have a driver's license tucked down in there somewhere, do you?
The Cannonball Run. Laughing at Burt Reynolds racing across America in crazy cars. When suddenly you realize something shocking. This wild movie that feels like pure Hollywood make-believe was actually based on something real and dangerous that happened in the shadows of American highways. But that's just the beginning of the secrets hiding behind this legendary film. Get ready to have your mind blown because today, we're diving deep into the incredible true stories that most fans never knew about the Cannonball Run. From actors who showed up drunk to filming, to a tragic accident that changed Hollywood forever, to the real illegal races that inspired it all. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never watch this movie the same way again. Let's start with something that will completely change how you see this film. You probably think the Cannonball Run was just another crazy Hollywood comedy with fast cars and silly jokes. But here's the truth that will shock you. This movie wasn't born from some writer's wild imagination. It came from real life, and that real life was absolutely insane. Back in 1971, a car magazine writer named Brock Yates was fed up with something that was driving him crazy. The government had just made new rules about how fast people could drive on highways. They said it was for safety and to save gas. But Yates thought it was ridiculous. He believed that good drivers should be able to go fast if they knew what they were doing. So instead of just complaining about it, he decided to prove his point in the most dramatic way possible. Yates teamed up with a famous race car driver named Dan Gurney, and together they hatched a plan that was completely illegal and totally dangerous. They were going to drive from New York all the way to California as fast as they possibly could. Not for money, not for fame, but just to show the world that the speed lie in myths were stupid. And they actually did it, finishing the cross-country trip in less than 36 hours, which was absolutely incredible. But here's where it gets even crazier. Word spread about what they had done, and suddenly other people wanted to try it too. Over the next few years, 5 more secret races happened. These weren't small events with a few cars. These were massive, no rules, anything goes races across the entire country. People showed up in the most amazing cars you can imagine. From super expensive Ferraris to souped-up muscle cars that could fly down the highway. Some racers got really creative with how they tried to avoid getting caught by the police. One team actually bought a real ambulance, complete with flashing lights and sirens. But they didn't just drive it, they went all out with the disguise. They wore medical uniforms, carried fake medical papers, and even had someone pretending to be a patient in the back. When police saw them speeding down the highway, they thought it was a real emergency and let them pass. The ambulance team was basically getting police escorts to help them win an illegal race, and the cops had no idea. These races were pure chaos. There were no official rules, no safety checks, and definitely no permission from anyone in charge. It was just pure adrenaline and rebellion. People loved it because it represented everything that felt free and wild about America. It was fast, it was dangerous, and it was everything that rule followers hated. Now here's something that will make you smile the next time you watch the movie. Remember that guy playing one of the race officials in the background? That's actually Brock Yates himself, the real person who created the whole Cannonball idea. He's not really acting because in real life, he was the mastermind behind the entire thing. He wrote for a car magazine and was obsessed with fast cars and open roads. When the government made those strict speed limits, he didn't just write angry articles about it. He got in a car and proved his point by racing across the country. Years later, when Hollywood decided to make a movie about his crazy races, Yates was right there on the movie set, playing the same kind of role he had played in real life. It's like he got to be part of his own story twice, once for real and once for the movies. But wait, it gets even better. That beat-up old ambulance you see in the movie isn't just some prop that the movie people found. It's the exact same ambulance that Brock Yates and director Hal Needham used in the real 1979 Cannonball race. They didn't just pretend to be medical workers for the movie. They actually did it in real life first. They hired a fake doctor, put a pretend patient in the back, and used that ambulance to try to trick police officers during the real race. The plan worked pretty well, but not perfectly. During the actual race, somewhere near Palm Springs in the desert, the ambulance caught fire. The engine overheated in the blazing sun and almost ended their race right there. But somehow they managed to keep going and made it to the finish line. When it came time to make the movie, they didn't bother finding a different ambulance that looked similar. They just used the exact same one that had already done the job for real. So when you see Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise racing in that old van, you're looking at a vehicle that had already lived through the real adventure. Speaking of Burt Reynolds, here's something that might surprise you about the biggest star in the movie. Reynolds was the face of the Cannonball run and seemed perfect for the role. But privately, he absolutely hated being in it. He later said it was one of the worst decisions he ever made as an actor. So why did he agree to do it if he didn't want to? The answer is simple and kind of sweet. His friend Hal Needham, who was directing the movie, asked him to do it as a favor. Needham and Reynolds had worked together before on other action comedies like Smokey and the Bandit, and they had become really good friends. When Hal pitched this idea about a wild cross-country race filled with jokes and chaos, Reynolds said yes without thinking too hard about it. He trusted his friend and figured it would be fun. But once filming actually started, Reynolds quickly realized the movie wasn't what he thought it would be. He didn't like the script and thought the whole thing was too silly and ridiculous. In interviews years later, he admitted he only stayed in the movie for the paycheck and to help out his friend. But here's the funny twist. Even though Reynolds hated the film, audiences absolutely loved it. The Cannonball Run became a huge hit and is still a fan favorite today. Sometimes the movies that actors regret the most end up being the ones that fans remember forever. The confusion about what kind of movie this was supposed to be didn't stop with Reynolds. Farrah Fawcett, who was a huge star at the time, thought she was signing up for something completely different. When she read the script and saw all the fast cars and romance, she believed she was going to be in a serious action movie with dramatic love scenes. Nobody bothered to tell her it was supposed to be funny. Then things got weird for her. Dean Martin showed up on set wearing a priest costume, and he was clearly drunk and laughing through all his lines. Sammy Davis Jr. was also dressed as a priest, cracking jokes between takes and having a blast. Farrah started to wonder what kind of movie she had gotten herself into. She kept going with her scenes, still thinking the whole thing would turn out to be dramatic and serious. She didn't figure out the truth until she went to the movie premiere. Sitting in the theater watching the finished film for the first time, she heard the crowd laughing at everything, saw all the chaos and silly scenes, and suddenly realized it was a full comedy. That was her first time understanding what kind of movie she had actually been in. Looking back, her confusion actually made her performance better. She played everything completely straight and serious, which made all the comedy around her even funnier. Now, let's talk about one of the most famous casting stories from the movie. Sammy Davis Jr. wasn't originally supposed to be in the Cannonball Run at all. The priest role he played was written for Don Rickles, who was known for his sharp, insulting comedy style. But at this very last minute, Rickles had to drop out of the project. This left the movie team scrambling to find someone who could bring the right energy and humor to the role. Sammy Davis Jr., who agreed to jump in on almost no notice. Even though he barely had any time to prepare, he completely stole every scene he was in. Dressed as a priest alongside Dean Martin, Sammy brought his own smooth style, quick wit, and natural charm. He wasn't just reading lines, he was having genuine fun with the character. His chemistry with Martin felt so natural and hilarious that you'd think they had been a comedy team for years. Sammy's scenes became some of the funniest parts of the entire movie. He handled all the chaos with ease, cracking jokes, sometimes singing his lines, and adding real personality to every moment he was on screen. Even though he wasn't the first choice for the role, he quickly became one of the best parts of the film. Fans loved him, critics praised him, and the whole movie gained extra energy because of his presence. What started as a last-minute emergency turned into one of the best casting decisions they could have made. Here's something that will make those priest scenes even funnier when you watch them again. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. weren't just pretending to be tipsy priests in the movie. They were actually drinking real alcohol during filming. Those drinks in their hands weren't fake movie props. They were the real thing, and it definitely showed in their performances. Their scenes were full of genuine laughter, slurred prayers, and off-the-cuff jokes that weren't even in the original script. Most of their dialogue was completely improvised. They just made it up as they went along, and director Hal Needham saw what was happening and decided not to fight it. Instead of trying to control them and make them stick to the script, he let them go wild with it. He figured their natural fun would add to the chaos and charm of the movie, and he was absolutely right. Their chemistry felt so real and natural because it actually was. Years of friendship and partying together had given them a rhythm that couldn't be faked. When Dean slurred a line or Sammy burst into laughter, the camera crew just kept rolling and captured it all. The result was some of the funniest and most memorable scenes in the entire film. It's pretty rare for actors to be that loose and relaxed on camera and still deliver such good performances. But for Dean and Sammy, it worked perfectly. Now let's talk about something that caused real problems behind the scenes. Roger Moore, who was famous for playing James Bond, had a fun role in the Cannonball Run, where he drove flashy cars and acted like a suave secret agent. The joke was that he wasn't really Bond, just a rich guy pretending to be the famous spy. It was a clever spoof that fans thought was hilarious, but one group definitely didn't find it funny at all. MGM Studios, which owned the rights to James Bond, was furious about Moore making fun of the character in a comedy movie. At the time, Moore was the official James Bond, starring in the big-budget 007 films that made millions of dollars. MGM took the Bond character very seriously and worked hard to protect its image. When they saw Moore making jokes about the role, they felt it made Bond look silly and could hurt the brand they had spent so much money building. The backlash was intense. After the Cannonball Run came out, MGM stepped in and made a new rule. They banned all current and future Bond actors from doing parodies or anything else that could damage the Bond image. Moore's lighthearted role in the Cannonball Run ended up changing the rules for everyone who came after him. It's pretty ironic that a role meant to be a harmless joke caused such serious trouble behind the scenes. Unfortunately, not every behind-the-scenes story from the Cannonball Run has a happy ending. During filming, a stunt went horribly wrong and changed the movie industry forever. A young stuntwoman named Heidi Von Beltz was riding in an Aston Martin during a high-speed scene. The car had mechanical problems, but the dangerous stunt went ahead anyway. There were no proper seatbelts installed in the vehicle. When the car crashed into a van, Heidi was thrown forward and suffered a broken neck. The accident left her paralyzed for life. She was only 24 years old, and in an instant, her career and her future were destroyed. The crash shocked everyone in the industry and revealed just how little attention was being paid to safety on movie sets at the time. Many stunt vehicles didn't even have basic safety equipment like seatbelts. After Heidi's accident, Hollywood finally started taking safety much more seriously. One major change came quickly. Seatbelts became mandatory in all stunt vehicles. Studios also began doing more thorough safety checks and started listening more carefully when stunt coordinators raised concerns about dangerous scenes. While the Cannonball Run was meant to be a fun and wild movie, this tragic behind-the-scenes moment left a permanent mark on the industry. Heidi's story became a turning point that led to life-saving changes in how Hollywood protects its performers. Jackie Chan's experience on the Cannonball Run is another story that shows how unfairly Hollywood treated international actors back then. This was Jackie's first American movie, and he was excited about the opportunity to show American audiences what he could do. He played a high-tech racer driving a Japanese car and got to show off some of his incredible martial arts moves. But when the film was edited, many of Jackie's best action scenes were cut out. The reason given was that they were considered too intense for a light comedy. Instead of letting Jackie shine and show what made him special, the movie watered down his performance. But the worst part came during the credits. Jackie, who is proudly Chinese, was listed as Japanese. It wasn't just a simple mistake. It showed how little care Hollywood was giving to Asian representation at the time. Jackie was frustrated by the whole experience, but he didn't let it stop him. Instead, he used it as motivation to take control of his own career. He decided he would break into Hollywood on his own terms, making films that let him blend action and comedy exactly the way he wanted to. Years later, movies like Rumble in the Bronx and Rush Hour turned him into a global superstar. The Cannonball Run didn't treat him right, but it gave him the push he needed to prove himself behind all the fun and chaos you see on screen. The Cannonball Run was actually a complete mess to make. The script was barely finished when they started filming. Scenes were often written or completely changed just minutes before the cameras started rolling. Writers would literally scribble new dialogue in the parking lot, hand the pages to the actors, and immediately start filming. Farrah Fawcett later admitted that she never saw a complete script for the entire movie. She was given pages here and there, sometimes not even knowing what the next scene would be about. This loose, unorganized approach created a lot of confusion, but it also gave the movie its fast-paced and unpredictable energy. Director Hal Needham liked to work on instinct rather than careful planning. He let the actors improvise, go completely off script, and just have fun with their characters. With a cast full of experienced comedians and big personalities, this approach led to plenty of hilarious moments, but it also created plenty of chaos. The movie feels like a wild party on wheels, and that's exactly what it was behind the scenes. Here's something that might surprise you about movie history. Today, it's totally normal to see blooper reels and behind-the-scenes footage during the credits of movies. But back in 1981, The Cannonball Run was one of the very first major films to do this. As the credits rolled, audiences got to see the cast messing up their lines, laughing during takes, and just goofing around between scenes. These bloopers became a surprise hit with audiences. People started staying through the credits just to catch one more laugh, watching Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, and the rest of the cast crack up and have fun made the whole movie feel like even more of a party. It also showed fans how much fun the actors were having during filming, even when things went wrong. One person who was especially inspired by this idea was Jackie Chan. He had never seen bloopers included at the end of a movie like that before. The idea fascinated him so much that he began adding his own blooper reels to the end of all his future films. From Police Story to Rush Hour, Jackie's end credit scenes became just as famous as his action sequences. The lawbreaking in The Cannonball Run didn't stop with the story on screen. One of the most spectacular scenes in the movie involved a Learjet flying incredibly low to the ground, soaring just above the highways. It looked absolutely amazing on screen, but it was completely illegal. The filmmakers didn't get approval from the Federal Aviation Administration to fly that low or to film it the way they did. They just went ahead and shot the scene, hoping no one in authority would notice. But people definitely did notice. After the movie came out, the FAA launched a serious investigation into the stunt. Flying a jet that close to the ground without proper clearance was considered a major safety risk, not just for the movie crew, but for anyone who happened to be in the area. The scene had been filmed without the right permits, and the aviation authorities didn't take it lightly. Director Hal Needham was known for his attitude of getting the shot first and dealing with consequences later. That approach worked great for creating the movie's wild and over-the-top style, but it also brought real legal trouble. Fortunately, no one was hurt during the illegal flight, but the stunt definitely crossed the line of what was allowed. Dom DeLuise brought incredible energy and humor to The Cannonball Run, but he also caused some unique problems on set. He had a habit that drove everyone crazy, but also made everyone love him even more. He couldn't stop laughing. Every time a scene got particularly silly, or Burt Reynolds threw in an unscripted joke, Dom would completely break character and start giggling uncontrollably. In the movie world, this is called corpsing, and Dom did it constantly throughout filming. The crew found it absolutely hilarious, but it made shooting scenes really difficult. Takes had to be done over and over again, because Dom would start laughing and ruin the shot. Sometimes Burt Reynolds, who usually played it cool, would roll his eyes at Dom's fits of laughter. Some of those eye rolls were genuine reactions, not part of the script, and they were so funny that they ended up in the final cut of the movie. Dom's laughter was incredibly contagious. Even experienced professional actors couldn't help but crack up when they were around him. Scenes would completely fall apart. The set would turn into something like a comedy club, and everyone would be laughing instead of working. But nobody really minded because Dom's joy was so genuine and infectious. The influence of the Cannonball run reached far beyond just movies. Its wild cross-country racing style and rebellious energy helped inspire one of the most legendary arcade games of the 1980s called Outrun. Released by Sega in 1986, Outrun became an instant hit with players all over the world. In the game, players raced through beautiful landscapes in a bright red Ferrari, with a female passenger beside them, dodging traffic and trying to beat the clock. The concept sounds very familiar, doesn't it? The game didn't directly copy the movie, but the spirit was exactly the same. Fast cars, open roads, and total freedom. Just like in the Cannonball run, Outrun wasn't about following strict racing rules or competing in organized events. It was all about the pure thrill of the ride. The game's designer actually said he wanted Outrun to feel like a road trip adventure rather than just a regular racing game. That idea of speeding across highways with style, humor, and just a bit of chaos came directly from the mood that the Cannonball run had created in popular culture. While the movie was full of comedy and stunts and the game focused on arcade action, both shared the same love for speed, freedom, and fun. Even the people making the movie sometimes couldn't tell the difference between the real star and his double. Burt Reynolds had one of the most recognizable faces in all of Hollywood. But on the set of the Cannonball run, his stunt double Roy Tatum looked so much like him that it fooled everyone. Tatum didn't just have a similar build to Reynolds. His face was so similar that people constantly confused the two. Tatum also had a small acting role in the film, playing a police officer in uniform. When some crew members saw him walking around the set in his police costume, they actually thought he was Burt Reynolds preparing for a scene. Even some of the producers were momentarily confused about which person they were looking at. The resemblance was so strong that Tatum could walk past extras and crew members without anyone questioning whether he belonged there. But it wasn't just about physical appearance. Tatum had studied Reynolds' mannerisms and swagger so carefully that he could perfectly mimic the way the star moved and acted. When the real Reynolds wasn't needed for a scene, Tatum's presence kept everything moving smoothly. Director Hal Needham was known for his background as a professional stuntman, and he believed in making movies with real action and genuine risks rather than fake movie tricks. So when it came time to shoot the Cannonball run, he made an incredible decision. He offered up his own personal Ferrari 308 GTS to be used in the film. Yes, that sleek red sports car you see speeding through scenes actually belonged to the director himself. Needham knew the risks he was taking. He wanted authentic driving footage that looked real and exciting, and he trusted his stunt team to handle his expensive car carefully. But letting actors and stunt drivers race around and do dangerous stunts in a car worth a small fortune wasn't exactly a safe bet. One point during filming, the Ferrari came very close to being completely wrecked during a high-speed scene, and everyone on set held their breath. But for Hal, the risk was worth it. He believed the film needed real energy and genuine excitement, not just movie magic and special effects. His willingness to put his own property on the line gave the movie a raw, authentic edge that fans could feel. Most directors would never even consider handing over their personal car for a stunt-filled comedy. But Needham wasn't like most directors. The studio executives saw something special in the Cannonball run even before it was finished. The movie was so full of chaos, last-minute script changes, and unscripted moments that many people wondered if it would even work as a complete film. But as filming continued, studio executives started watching the dailies, which are the raw, unedited footage from each day's shooting. What they saw wasn't just acceptable, it was magical. Despite all the problems with the loose script and constant improvisation, the chemistry between the cast members was absolutely electric. Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and all the other actors were clearly having the time of their lives, and that joy came through in every scene. The laughter was genuine, the action felt wild but fun, and every day the footage got better and better. The studio executives were so impressed that they didn't even wait for the final version to be completed. Before filming was completely finished, They had already given approval for Cannonball Run 2. That kind of early approval is incredibly rare in Hollywood, especially for a movie that seemed so unpredictable and risky on paper. But their gamble paid off perfectly. The first film became a major box office hit, and the sequel went into production right away. The Cannonball Run was packed with surprise appearances by famous faces that most people never noticed. These uncredited cameos added even more fun and charm to a movie that already felt like one giant Hollywood party. Right at the beginning of the film, during the high-speed opening chase scene, Valerie Perrine makes a surprise appearance as a state trooper. She was famous for playing Miss Teschmacher in Superman, but she doesn't get credited for her Cannonball Run role. It was a quick scene, but sharp-eyed fans got a fun surprise if they caught it. Another hidden face belonged to Ken Squire, the legendary NASCAR commentator who was known as the voice of the Daytona 500. He appears briefly as a California Highway Patrol officer. His cameo wasn't just for fun. It brought real racing credibility to a movie that was all about illegal speed and wild driving. It was a subtle touch that motorsports fans really appreciated. And then there's Peter Fonda, who shows up as himself leading a motorcycle gang in a quick, unexpected moment. It was a clever reference to his iconic role in Easy Rider and added a rebellious spirit that fit perfectly with the movie's lawless, go-anywhere attitude. These uncredited appearances weren't major parts of the story, but they added layers of fun and surprise that made the movie feel like more than just a regular comedy. The Cannonball Run was so much more than just fast cars and laughs. It was packed with incredible true stories, wild behind-the-scenes moments, and secrets that most fans never knew existed. From the real illegal races that inspired it all, to actors showing up drunk to filming, to tragic accidents that changed Hollywood's safety rules forever, this movie has layers of fascinating history that make it even more amazing to watch. These hidden stories show us that sometimes the most entertaining movies come from the most chaotic and unpredictable circumstances. The Cannonball Run succeeded not despite its problems and confusion, but because of them. The genuine fun, real friendships, and authentic energy that you feel when watching it came from a cast and crew who were truly enjoying themselves, even when everything was falling apart around them. So the next time you watch the Cannonball Run, remember all these incredible secrets hiding behind every scene. Think about the real races that inspired it, the actors improvising their lines while actually drunk, and the director risking his own Ferrari to get the perfect shot. These stories make an already great movie even more special, and remind us why it's still such a beloved classic after all these years. If these amazing behind-the-scenes secrets blew your mind as much as they blew mine, then you absolutely need to smash that like button right now. Share this video with every movie fan you know, because trust me, they're going to want to hear these incredible stories too. And make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell, because we're always uncovering more fascinating secrets from your favorite films that you never knew existed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll dive into even more amazing movie mysteries that will completely change how you see Hollywood forever.